Have Gun, Will Travel, Season 6, Episode 16, The Treasure. Have Gun, Will Travel Season 6, Episode 16, titled The Treasure. Aired on December 29, 1962. The episode follows Paladin as he becomes involved in a dangerous search for $80,000 in stolen bank money, a fortune that disappeared years earlier and was never recovered. The money was allegedly stolen by Jess Hardin, a bank robber who was sent to prison even though he insisted that he did not actually take the money. Now Hardin is about to be released, and his return creates an immediate problem. Everyone who has heard the story believes that Hardin knows where the missing fortune is hidden. His wife, Edna Hardin, hires Paladin to protect her and her husband because she expects armed men to come looking for the money. The story eventually takes Paladin and Edna to War Lance, a deserted settlement that has become a ghost town. What begins as a protection assignment soon turns into a tense treasure hunt involving greed, deception, betrayal, and several men willing to kill for money they have never even seen. The episode's official descriptions identify Jess Hardin as a prisoner convicted of robbing the War Lance Bank of $80,000, with the money never recovered, while War Lance has since become a ghost town. Hardin's wife expects trouble when he returns and asks Paladin for protection. The story begins with Paladin at the Carlton Hotel in San Francisco. He is enjoying a relatively peaceful evening when he becomes aware of a woman working as a blackjack dealer. The woman is Edna Hardin, and she immediately recognizes Paladin's reputation. Instead of simply treating him as another gambler, she deliberately raises the minimum bet, effectively challenging him. Paladin is intrigued and begins playing. Their conversation soon reveals that Edna is not merely looking for a customer. She knows who Paladin is and has a specific reason for wanting to meet him. She explains that her husband, Jess Hardin, is about to be released from prison after serving a sentence connected with the famous War Lance Bank robbery. The money from that robbery has never been recovered, and Edna believes that a number of people will be waiting for Jess when he gets out. She is convinced that they will assume he knows where the stolen fortune is hidden. Her fear is not imaginary. The missing $80,000 has become almost legendary, and over the years the uncertainty surrounding its disappearance has attracted men who are willing to do almost anything to locate it. Edna therefore wants Paladin to accompany her and protect both her and Jess. Paladin is immediately interested in the case because the circumstances surrounding the robbery do not make complete sense. Jess Hardin was convicted, yet the money was never found. If Hardin truly stole the money, why was he willing to spend years in prison without revealing its location? If he did not steal it, as he claims, then who took the money and where did it disappear? These questions are central to the mystery. Paladin understands that a missing fortune creates a special kind of danger because people can become obsessed with something they cannot see. The men searching for the money do not necessarily need proof that Jess has it. They only need to believe that he knows where it is. That belief alone can be enough to get someone killed. Edna's request also makes clear that Jess's release from prison is the event that has brought the old mystery back to life. For years, the robbery has remained unresolved. The town of War Lance has essentially disappeared, becoming a ghost town, but the legend of the stolen money has survived. The physical town may be abandoned, yet the memory of the robbery remains alive in the minds of treasure hunters and criminals. Paladin realizes that the place where the money disappeared may also be the place where the truth is eventually found. He agrees to help Edna, knowing that the assignment is likely to involve more than simply guarding a former convict. The journey toward War Lance establishes the atmosphere of the episode. The farther Paladin and Edna travel, the more isolated the landscape becomes. The abandoned town is almost a character in itself. War Lance once had businesses, families, workers, and ordinary life, but now it is largely empty. Buildings stand abandoned, streets are quiet, and there are few signs of the community that once existed there. This isolation is important because it creates the perfect environment for a secret. It also creates the perfect environment for criminals. With no functioning town government and almost no ordinary population, anyone arriving there has to rely on himself. Paladin knows that the people following them will not have to worry about witnesses or immediate interference from the law. The ghost town setting also reinforces the theme of the episode. The stolen money has become a relic of the past, just like Warlance itself. Yet people are still willing to risk their lives chasing it. Paladin sees the irony. The town has died, but greed has kept its most famous story alive. The abandoned buildings represent everything that has disappeared, while the missing money represents the one thing people still desperately want to recover. Eventually, Paladin and Edna encounter the men who have come looking for the treasure. Among them are several dangerous figures, including Deacon, Corbin, and Eddie. Men who have heard that the stolen money may still be hidden somewhere around Warlance. Deacon is portrayed by DeForest Kelly, Corbin by Lee Van Cleef, and Eddie by Buck Taylor. Their presence immediately raises the stakes because Paladin understands that these men are not interested in solving a historical mystery for curiosity's sake. They want the money for themselves. Another important figure connected with the story is Al Long, an ex-convict played by Jim Davis. His connection to Jess Harden and the robbery adds another layer of uncertainty. Nobody can be completely sure who knows the truth about the missing money. Every character has a reason to conceal information, and Paladin must determine which stories are credible and which are designed to manipulate him. The men searching for the money assume that Jess knows where it is hidden. Their reasoning is simple. Jess was convicted of the robbery, therefore he must have been involved in the theft, and therefore he must know where the money went. But Paladin does not accept this logic. He understands that a conviction does not automatically explain every unanswered question surrounding a crime. Harden may have been guilty of something without being responsible for the missing fortune. He may have been used as a scapegoat. He may have known something but refused to cooperate. Or the money may have been hidden by someone else entirely. This uncertainty creates the main mystery of the episode. Paladin must protect Edna while also discovering the truth about Jess and the missing $80,000. He cannot simply shoot every person who threatens them because doing so would not solve the underlying problem. He needs to understand what everyone wants and why they are willing to risk their lives. Edna is also more complicated than she first appears. She is frightened, but she is not helpless. She has survived years of uncertainty surrounding her husband's imprisonment, and she understands that money has made her family a target. Her decision to hire Paladin demonstrates that she is willing to take action rather than simply wait for danger to arrive. At the same time, her knowledge of Jess's history makes Paladin question how much she knows about the robbery herself. As the characters move deeper into the abandoned town, the search for the treasure becomes increasingly tense. Every building, abandoned room, and old structure could potentially contain a clue. The men search for evidence of where the money might have been hidden. The town's history becomes important because the location of the original bank and the circumstances of the robbery may provide clues about what happened. Paladin approaches the search differently from the other treasure hunters. They are driven by greed and impatience, while he is driven by curiosity and the need to protect his client. This difference gives him an advantage. Because he is not obsessed with finding the money for himself, he can think more clearly. The episode repeatedly shows how greed distorts judgment. The men pursuing the fortune are willing to distrust everyone. They suspect Edna, Jess, Al Long, and even each other. Alliances are temporary because every man understands that once the money is found, there will be more than one person claiming it. Paladin recognizes this immediately. He knows that a treasure hunt involving desperate men is almost guaranteed to end in betrayal. As the mystery develops, it becomes clear that the missing money has created a web of lies. People have spent years telling stories about what happened, and those stories have become difficult to separate from reality. Some men claim to know where the money is. Others claim to know who stole it. Still others believe Jess secretly buried it before he was arrested. Every new story seems to create another possibility. Paladin begins testing these stories against physical evidence and the behavior of the people involved. He notices contradictions. A person who claims not to know something may accidentally reveal details that only someone with inside knowledge would possess. Another person may become unusually nervous when a particular building is mentioned. These small clues help Paladin understand the true relationships between the characters. The suspense becomes especially strong because Paladin is surrounded by men who are prepared to kill. He knows that any mistake could result in a gunfight. Yet he remains calm and refuses to allow the atmosphere of suspicion to control him. This is typical of Paladin. He is always most dangerous when he is calm. Other men may rely on speed and intimidation, but Paladin relies on observation. Eventually, the search begins to reveal what really happened to the stolen money. The truth is not as simple as the legend suggests. Jess Hardin's story becomes increasingly important because his years in prison have given the mystery an unusual shape. If he really did steal the money, his behavior after the robbery raises questions. If he did not steal it, then his imprisonment represents a major injustice. Either way, the missing fortune has allowed criminals to construct their own explanations. Paladin's investigation gradually exposes the difference between what people believe and what can actually be proved. The $80,000 has become more valuable in people's imaginations than it probably ever was in reality. Men who have never seen the money are willing to risk their lives because they have convinced themselves that finding it will solve all their problems. Paladin understands that this is precisely what makes treasure dangerous. Money can be divided, but greed cannot easily be satisfied. As the various characters close in on the location where they believe the money may be hidden, tension reaches its highest point. Everyone realizes that the mystery may finally be solved. But the closer they get to the truth, the more dangerous the situation becomes. The men who have cooperated temporarily begin turning against one another. Each understands that if the fortune is found, only one or a few people can ultimately possess it. Paladin is forced into the middle of the conflict. He must protect Edna while preventing the situation from becoming a massacre. His professional experience allows him to anticipate the behavior of the men around him. He knows that the first person to panic may be the first person to shoot. He therefore tries to maintain control until he understands who is actually responsible for the danger. The climax combines the mystery of the missing money with the personal conflict between the characters. The truth about Jess Hardin and the robbery finally becomes clearer, and Paladin is able to distinguish the genuine facts from the stories created by years of speculation. The treasure itself is less important than the consequences of the search. The men who have pursued it have revealed their true characters. Some are willing to betray friends. Others are willing to kill. Paladin, meanwhile, remains committed to his original responsibility, protecting Edna and ensuring that the truth is not buried beneath another round of violence. The final confrontation demonstrates Paladin's ability as both a gunfighter and a strategist. He does not rush into violence simply because guns are present. Instead, he waits until the situation forces his hand. When the shooting begins, Paladin responds with the precision and confidence expected of him. But the violence is never presented as the real solution. The real victory comes from understanding what happened to the money and preventing greed from claiming more lives. By the conclusion, the mystery of the $80,000 has been brought to a resolution, and the characters are forced to confront the consequences of their obsession. The treasure has caused fear, suspicion, betrayal, and violence for years. The abandoned town of Warlance becomes the perfect symbol for the story. A place where something valuable once existed, but where only memories and ruins remain. The money has outlived the people who originally handled it, yet it continues to control the lives of those